let's do it. So I want to welcome everybody officially. This is my first session of 2021. I'm so glad that you are here. And this is part of my Spring 2021 Language Acquisition and Vocabulary Development Series. And this is the ELPS and TELPAS, best practices for incorporating language modalities across the curriculum and classroom. And yes, I am fully aware that that title is overly long, but once you put it in the system, it's too late. This is part one. There is a 4-part series as we will be hitting every domain of language acquisition and every domain that is obviously a part of ELPS and TELPAS. So we will be having this series every Monday for the next 3 weeks after this one at 4 o'clock. I think many of you are probably signed up for all of them because I've seen the numbers on our registration system. If you cannot attend, go ahead and let me know, and I will still send you the recording and all of the resources so that you can watch the recording at your leisure and you can still take advantage of the information, even if you are unable to attend. All right? Okay, so for those of you who do not know me, I am Gabriel Verone. I am an instructional content coach working with the English language support team at Region 11. I've been there for almost a year and a half now. Here's my beautiful family. My wife, April, is a critical care nurse. Malachi is 13. Zachary is 8. I love me some Marvel and DC. And I'm also the part-time preteen minister at South Cliff Church in Fort Worth. I served as a bilingual teacher in elementary, as a assistant principal, as a reading coach, and I was in the classroom and altogether in public education for 15 years before coming to the service center. All right, so our objectives for today, and you can see these do align with T-Test, so if you want to take this to your appraisal at the end of the year as evidence of your professional learning and growth, please feel free to do that. We're going to explore the connections between the ELPS and the TELPAS, as well as strategies to implement the ELPS in the classroom, whether it be face-to-face or virtual or some sort of amalgamation. All right. And we are going to use both social and academic language to create learning objectives. You'll do that orally and in writing, and you're going to record them in the chat visually. All right. So when we leave, you will have, sorry, I got distracted by the chat. You will have an opportunity to look at your specific content, to look at some upcoming lessons that you have, and to design some learning objectives that include both a content objective and a language objective specific to the listening modality. All right. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about an English learner in your classroom. And if you're like, but I am not in the classroom, I told you that in the chat, dummy. Well, first of all, calm down. Don't insult me. That's very rude. No, but at some point, you've interacted with an English learner somewhere, okay? So I want you to create a mental image of that English learner, and I want you to tell the participants in your breakout room what made you think of that English learner and what accommodations, what things have you done to help that individual in their journey of language acquisition, okay? So what made you think of that individual and how have you helped and served them specifically? And if you're like, I'd rather talk about my class in general, it's your chat room, I'm not gonna stop you, okay? So I'm gonna stop my share. I'm gonna give you 4 minutes. I'm assuming you've all done Zoom before because we've been doing this for almost a year now. But if you have not, you will see an invitation in the center of your screen that says to join a breakout room. Just click on there. And then when the time is almost up, you will see another alert that says you have 60 seconds left. You can just let the time run out and it will bring you back to the main room. Or you can put leave room. Don't put leave meeting because then you'll have to rejoin. It will kick you out of the whole meeting. All right. All right. Breakout rooms. There are 17 of you, so I'm going to open 5 rooms that, let's open 4. Okay, here we go. If you do not see an invitation, please let me know. Remember, we're talking about an English learner that we've served, how we've served them. I'll see you in 4 minutes. Fabiola, are you okay? Do you need help? Are you seeing the invitation? Oh, okay. If you need to step away, no problem. If you'd like to rejoin, I will be happy to admit you later on, okay? And I will still send you a follow-up email with all of the information. All right. Unless I am terribly mistaken, it looks like everybody is back with us. So here's what I'd like to do. We don't have a lot of time, but if one or two people would like to just drop your name in the chat or say, hey, I'd like to share. Oops, that's the wrong button. Sorry about that. It's very difficult when you only have one screen. So go ahead and say, hey, I'd like to share out. Oh, who was the most interesting English language learner that somebody shared with you, or the most interesting experience, or maybe some of the most interesting accommodations or instructional techniques or strategies that people shared in your group? And if you don't want to put it in the chat, you can just unmute yourself and talk.
I guess I can share with, but I can't see her, so I don't remember her name. Sorry. But one of the ladies, oh, Judith Pierce was in our group, and she's thought of somebody that, a student that was having trouble kind of getting his thoughts down onto paper for writing. And it sounded kind of like maybe he was getting a little flustered. And so she just said, just tell me what you want to say. And so she just wrote it down for him, but exactly word for word what he said. And then she read it back to him.
That works. Instead of allowing for frustration and anger, just meet the child, or if it's an adult learner, meet them where they're at. All right. Thank you so much, Marie. And thank you, Judith, for sharing that with your group. Anyone else? All right, my favorite. So when I was teaching third grade dual language, I had a little boy named Jared from Venezuela, and he just was very vibrant, very alive. My dad is from Uruguay and my mom is from Spain. So yo crecí bilingüe, right? I grew up half, kind of white American, but kind of Hispanic, right? So like, that's my gente, that's my people, right? And so one day I'm reading an excerpt of Harry Potter out loud to them, right? And I'm doing all the voices, right? I'm even doing, all that, right? And then one of the kids, so I say Voldemort, right? And one of the kids goes, Mr. Barone, I'm not one of the kids, Jared goes, Mr. Barone, that's my dad's name. And I was like, Jared, no manches, your dad's not named Voldemort. Stop it, right? Because Jared would say stuff like that. He goes, no, mister, that's my dad's name. I was like, Jared, your father is not a wizard or a dark lord. That's not his name. Mr. Barone, that's my dad's name. I'm telling the truth. Right? So I get on the computer and I look up his dad's name. You know what his dad's name was? Valdemar, which if you have a Hispanic accent, right? Voldemort, Valdemar. So it turns out his dad was the Dark Lord of Venezuela. Who knew? So, all right. Now, as we know, there is a wide range of characteristics. And the reason I bring this up, right, is not because this is stuff you guys don't know, but it's good to remember, it's good to keep in mind, and it allows us to do our utmost to reach every child, right, and to reach them in ways that's appropriate to their needs. So in terms of language for our English learners, right, there's a wide range of proficiency of English, right? Some of them speak another language at home. Some of them speak more than one, but some of them, even though they are English learners, they may only speak English at home, right? Their parents may speak a foreign language, but maybe they don't, okay? And in our region, we have approximately 180 native languages, all right? They also have a wide range of formal schooling. Just like they may not necessarily speak a second language, they may have lived in the United States their entire life, right? They may be here as a refugee or an asylee, right? And we know that with COVID, right, we really need to think about social, emotional, and kind of the trauma of everything kids and families have gone through, right? And similarly, refugee and asylee kids, they have those very same experiences, right, but on a wider scale. And they may or may not have proper documentation, right? And then we know that they have enjoyed a whole host of labels, right? As we try to, right, that's mean, because then we're focusing on their deficiency rather than their areas of strength. Okay, and so we've moved through many. The last one was ELL. These days, the common parlance is EL for just English learner. All right, the good news is the state of Texas has already come up with at least some ways to help you think through how you serve these students, right? And that is the ELPS, the English Language Proficiency Standards. You may already have the ELPS, you may have seen the ELPS, but let's be honest, you probably have used them sparingly, if at all, in planning learning objectives. So if you don't have a physical copy, I'm going to drop this in the chat for you. But when I send you, you don't have to keep track of it. So I'm going to send you this presentation with the QR code. And so you can then save it to your Google Drive. All right. So I'm going to stop my share and drop that in the screen for you. No, that's not. I'm going to drop it in the chat for you, not in the screen. Hold on. There we go. All right. So if you'll open the chat, and I did check all of these links again today. This is not the first time I've done this presentation. I checked all the QR codes, but if it doesn't work, please let me know, and I will do everything possible to fix it. Okay, now I'm just gonna read this. I don't usually read my slides verbatim, but I think this is a really important word. I know we like to give TEA a hard time for their many deficiencies, but the ELPS really are very useful and very well put together. Okay, it says classroom instruction that effectively integrates second language acquisition with quality content area instruction ensures, now this is obviously from an older version, right, because it's ELLs, ensures that ELLs acquire social and academic language proficiency in English, learn the knowledge and skills in the TEKS, and reach their full academic potential. And so what we're striving for is not simply to teach content, right? Not simply to teach language, but to teach the two together. And in order to do that, we need to thoughtfully and purposefully think through, how do I pair my lesson objectives with very concrete and specific language objectives to marry the two, okay? So basically, what do I need my kids to know? But how am I going to have them share that content? Am I going to have them process it just orally? That's AU, right? Am I going to have them process it orally and orally, right? Am I going to have them do all three and write it? Am I going to have them read? Which language modality or modalities am I going to purposely use to get my kids to think about, hear, and talk about and write about the content, okay? All right, so you probably already know this. Again, I don't know what experience or what background people have, so I just got to hit everybody, all right? The TEKS is to the STAR as the ELPS is to TELPAS, right? The standards in the TEKS are tested on the STAR test, at least ostensibly, okay? Not always perfectly, but at least theoretically, okay? Similarly, the English language proficiency standards are tested or measured in the TELPAS, okay? And in the TELPAS, if you have never administered it before or haven't had a refresher in a while, right? Students in grades 2 and up take an online reading test to measure their reading ability in English. Our early childhood K1 students are rated using a rubric, right? For listening, students take an online test where they listen to tasks and complete a series of directions or answer questions. We know that it's almost time to collect those TELPAS writing samples, right? So we know that students are rated on a rubric based on the samples that they turn in. And for speaking, students take an online test where they answer questions using a microphone to record speaking in English, all right? When I was in the classroom, this was very new and it was an utter disaster. I've heard that it hasn't improved that much, but that the system is a little bit better in terms of recording students' spoken English. Okay, and as you know, the linguistic domains for each of the modalities are beginner, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. Now, today we are going to specifically look at listening, okay? And if you look at the descriptors, you'll notice each of the bullets addresses a similar element or dimension, that's the word I was looking for, right? And it just goes in a continuum. So the first one is the ability to converse, okay? Then, excuse me. The next one is the social language moving up to academic language. And the last one is the ability to hear and to experience second language language mistakes. Okay, so again, I'm not going to read these to you because you can read. I just wanted you to be aware of those dimensions and the descriptors. And what I really want you to know, if you have never seen the LIAG, right, which is the Linguistic Instruction Accommodation Guide, okay, I'm going to give you a digital copy of it, and you'll notice that the linguistic domains and the proficiency levels directly match what is measured in TELPAS. And this is a really great way to address each of the dimensions and to address student needs at each level of proficiency. So I'm going to drop this in the chat. I want you to go ahead and click, open it up, and we're going to look specifically at pages 4 and 5, because that's the listening domain. All right, so let me stop my share. And I'm going to give you 3 minutes. I realize that's a very short amount of time. What I want you to do is open up the link, go to pages 4 and 5, and take a look at the proficiency descriptors. And then what you're going to see, let me share my screen one more time. This is what it's going to look like once you open that up. Okay, you're going to see here the proficiency descriptors, which we just saw. You'll also notice, right, the specific ELPS related to listening are only A through I, so they're not overwhelming, right? The student expectations are reasonable and doable. But then on the next page, you have the associated key cognitive skills, the foundational skills. You have some specific suggestions as to activities that you can do with your students. And then you also have suggested teacher behaviors for each level of proficiency. Okay, so I want you to take 3 minutes, look through those 2 pages, and we'll chat about them when you come back. Okay, any questions, please drop those in the chat. I'm going to start 3 minutes. On your marks and get set, go. And everyone's thinking, that wasn't long enough. We didn't get to finish. So I realize.
I'm going to use my John Silence. May have some more time to think STEM.
No sidelets here.
May I use my points to buy time?
So let me ask you this. What track were you on? What were some of the listening ELPS that you think would have been well paired with this? Kind of like if you're having a really thick steak, may I suggest a bold red with this steak, sir? Right. So which ELP were you leaning towards? All right, I got some folks in the chat. All right, I got 2E and 2H. Crisol said use visual, contextual, and linguistic support. That would definitely be necessary, right? Especially if you're trying to explain buoyancy, right? And again, you know here's what we always say. I'm part of the English learner support team. It's a team of 2. We always say these strategies are necessary for some, right? They're absolutely essential if you got a second language learner in your room, but they're good for everybody, right? Because the kid that only speaks English, how many of your kids are be like, yes, buoyancy, absolutely, sir. Me and my dad, we talked about that at the Children's History and Science Museum the other day, right? Most of them are not going to say that, right? So, okay, let's see. What else do we got? Okay, we got E and I. All right, I got a lot of E's, but Marie says we were stuck on what to do next. So really, let me go ahead and jump into what E says so I can specifically address that. All right, let me share my screen so you guys can see what I'm seeing. And then we got one final activity and we're going to do our closing, and I'm going to let you go have dinner with your family. Okay, here we go. So E says, use visual, contextual, and linguistic support to enhance. Okay, so one thing I might say, right, is I'm going to say we're going to discuss these 4 terms, right? Length, weight, buoyancy, magnetism, okay? And so I might tell them, I want you to listen for these terms, right? And I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head based on your feedback. So I would wordsmith it a little better. But I might say every time you hear these words, we're going to use a symbol or a hand gesture to remind us what these words mean, right? So for length, I might say the length, right? The weight, right? The weight, right? How fat I am is not necessarily how heavy I am, but it communicates it, right? The buoyancy, right? Because it goes up and down in the water. And the magnetism is going to be my magnet or right? The magnetism. Again, are those perfect? No. And I just came up with them. But I'm going to listen. And when I hear those words, I'm going to make the appropriate symbol, right? So I'm using visual, contextual, and linguistic supports. And what I really want them to focus on is hearing those words, because we're going to be saying them repeatedly as we perform the scientific investigation. Does that make sense? So that would be how I would pair those two and make a student-friendly objective. Okay, so I'm going to hear and make the appropriate hand gesture, which sounds wrong, when that word is shared during the course of the lesson. Okay, all right. Hold on, there's something in the chat. There we go. Okay, and Jessica says that those are some strategies she has to use with her kindies. Yes. We have to, the children have a decreased attention span because of electronics. Okay, so unfortunately, I didn't pace this as well as I would have liked, okay? I was gonna have you create look at one of your upcoming lessons, choose one objective, pair it with one ELP, and write a student-friendly objective. So I'm gonna let you do that on your own time, because if I don't, you're not gonna get out of here on time. I apologize, that's my bad. I probably talked about WandaVision too much, and that's why we don't have time now. So you can feel free to put that as a negative when you do the evaluation of me from Region 11. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, but I will encourage you. I don't want to give you an extra step, okay? I'm not trying to make your life harder. I know, especially if you're on the front lines and you're trying to teach and you got kids in virtual and out of the classroom and they're sending kids home with COVID and you're covering your friend's class. And I know it's a nightmare. I can't imagine. Like, they got to stop talking about nurses and doctors being heroes and talk about y'all, right? Just saying. Like, if you're in the ICU, you can at least sedate your patient, right? Can't sedate the children at school. That's illegal. Can't do that, right? And you shouldn't. It's not nice, all right? So I'm not trying to make your life more difficult. I am trying to tell you, though, that if you intentionally pair learning objectives with specific linguistic modality strategies from the LIAG, it'll be easier for your English learners. That's all I'm trying to tell you, okay? All right, I do need you to do me a favor. I'm gonna send you a Google form. I always do an impact measure because it's required by Region 11, but it also lets me know how much did you learn and what can I do to improve, okay? Now, what you do need to know is you're gonna have to put in the session title and the session number. So I'm gonna drop those in the chat, and I'm also gonna drop the bit.ly for the impact measure. It shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes to fill it out, okay? Give me one moment. Sorry. Okay, here's the Google form, so go ahead and open that. And then the necessary information, you can just copy and paste. Here is the date, the session number, and the title. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to fill that out. Once you are done, just give me like a thumbs up or I'm done in the chat so I know, okay? So 2 minutes, do that. And yes, we will definitely finish on time. And the form should work for you because 3 different people filled it out on 3 different devices from 3 different email addresses today. We've got just over a minute. Thank you, Ashley. You are the first one this time. So 89,000 points for you. Sorry, Mariana, she beat you. Just kidding. Oh, they're flowing in here. Crisol, before you go, you're very welcome for the informative session, but don't leave because I do have a little bit of important information for you. By the way, somebody once put in the review at Region 11, they put, it's a very informative session apart from the awkward jokes. Guys, don't put that. That hurts my feelings. That's not nice. My jokes are fantastic. Plus, it makes me think my mother-in-law is right when she said, you're not as funny as you think you are. Like, really, lady? That's not nice. Don't say that to someone's face. The only biological grandchildren you have are from me. Can I get some credit for that? You had 4 kids. Only one of them had any grandkids. Just saying. And then I'm not as funny as I think I am. All right. If you're not done, that's okay. All right. We're almost done. You got 3 minutes. I'm going to get you out of here in less time than that. All I need you to know is this. I'm going to share with you the bilingual professional learning s'more. Even if you're not a bilingual teacher, all of these strategies are good for English learners in any context, okay? We also have a specific English learner professional learning s'more. This is from my supervisor in the English learner support team, okay? And then if you're looking for a resource for parents, we have our English learner parent support in English and in Spanish. And with Google Translate, it can become any language that you want, okay? Then I'm going to send you my upcoming sessions, and in the PDF, all the ways that you can follow us. Melanie Yoakum is my supervisor and the head of the English Learner Support Team. She is a treasure trove of resources, okay? You can sign up for all those s'mores here, and you'll be able to click on all kinds of additional resources from Region 11, from TEA, and specifically for at-home support for those of you doing digital learning, okay? You will be getting that follow-up email with all of that information from me tomorrow. It is 4:58. I'm gonna let you go. I hope the session was helpful for you. I hope to see you next week. And if you have any questions or wanna stick around for clarification or anything like that, I'll be here for 5-10 more minutes, okay? Thank you so much. Feel free to click the leave meeting button if you're tired of looking at me and listening to me. And happy spring. Stick with it. You're doing great. You're doing God's work out there.